What's going on, everyone? How's it going? Welcome to the stream. Happy Tuesday. Hopefully you are doing well. We are going to be talking about the Delphi case today. So buckle up. I know that we talked a little bit about what the Murder Sheet podcast has been releasing. And so we're going to go through a little bit of that today as well. We're going to be going through their podcast that was released on March 24th on their YouTube channel with the stepson of Tony Kline. So we're going to be going through, we're not going to go through the whole thing. It's a 52-minute podcast. I watched it on 1.5 times speed. We'll watch it at like 1.25 speed or listen to it. And I've marked down sections that I think are notable that you guys might find interesting. So we'll get started in just a moment. Let's say hey to everyone joining. Let's see. Joyce, how's it going? TD, OG TD. Alex, Lindsay, hello all. Hope you've been having a great day. Good to see you all in here. Colin, tomorrow's your birthday. Happy early birthday, Colin. Tracy, hello. Alex, Nella, Ray, Sharfine. The Klines give me the willies. Yeah, same. Let's see. Ray, hello. Ty, Londoner, Angela. Good to see you. Joyce, Lynn. Guys, tap that like button as you're joining. We have close to 100 people in here already. Let's get this stream out there into the YouTube algorithm to get things started. And then by the time we start talking about the case, hopefully everyone will have gotten their notifications and we can hop into it. So before we do any of that, we need to acknowledge the level 2 supporters. Thank you to the level 2, tier 2 supporters of the channel. Thank you for your support. Really appreciate that. We acknowledge them now at the beginning and the end of each stream. Lynn, hello. Hello, everyone. Kat, happy Tuesday to you as well. Mazzy Star, hello. Hungry Helmet in the house. Paige in DC. How's it going, Paige? Thanks for the restaurant recommendations in DC. Linda, I am not here. Linda, I think you are here. HL says Tony Kline totally looks like Bridge Guy. Yeah, I kind of agree. And I know my thumbnail shows like a split image of Tony's head and Bridge Guy. And we're using an image of Tony smiling. So it's kind of hard to get that facial expression perfect. I'm going to try to find a more subtle photo of Tony that maybe will line up a little bit better. We'll do that at some point. But I agree with you, HL. I think so. Victoria, how's it going? Good to see you. You're back. You're back from, I think you said, a trip somewhere. So happy to have you back. But yeah, tap that like button. Let's get into it. If you are unfamiliar, I think Nella mentioned I need to make a playlist. I just made a playlist. I'm going to try to link it. I think there's an issue for some reason, and it's not showing up on my page. If you're watching this as a re-upload, I will be linking my playlist to all my other Delphi videos. Now that we're starting to make more around the Delphi case, I've got a playlist made. Yeah, I'll be linking that down below at the end of the stream. Letterpress Soap, did you hear the Stepbrother interview? That is what we're going through today, my friend. We are going to be going through different spots of that interview. Big shout out to the people over at the Murder Sheet podcast. I have linked the podcast that we're going to be going through down below. I have also linked the tip line around the Delphi case, as well as the domestic abuse hotline, because disclaimer, if talk about domestic abuse or any form of, abuse is triggering, this may not be the conversation for you to join along with, because this podcast that we're going to be listening to, it could be triggering for some people. So I just want to mention that. There's also a hotline down below. No one deserves to be going through a relationship of any sort where they're being emotionally, physically, sexually abused, any of that. So just want to clarify. Cindy Stevens, have I missed much? No, Cindy, you haven't missed anything. But what I was getting into before that, I'm not going to be going over everything that we've talked about around the Delphi case. We're going to be hopping in. If you want the kind of overview, there are plenty of videos out there. Like I said, I'm going to have my playlist up super soon. But a little bit of a brief overview is that on February 14th, 2017, the bodies of Abigail Williams and Liberty German were discovered near the Monon High Bridge Trail, which is part of the Delphi Historic Trails in Delphi, Indiana, United States, after the young girls disappeared from the same trail the previous day. The murders have received significant media coverage because video and audio recording of an individual believed to be the girls' killer were found on German's smartphone, despite thousands of tips that have been sent to the police and the circulation of the recordings and of the suspect. No arrest in the case has been made. Londoner says Tony Kline doesn't have an alibi. Kegan, and also I don't know if it's Kegan or Kegan. I've heard so many people say Kegan. I'll just say Kegan, I guess, from here on out, even though I don't know if it's Kegan or not. Kegan is supposed to be his alibi, but didn't know where he himself was. Interesting. Okay, going to start driving, so I won't be interacting with other than facial expressions and a few, what's all by myself, but endless. Oh, yes, thanks. I forgot. Yeah, you're driving. Angela, thank you. Drive safely. So yeah, Delphi, Indiana, super known for their trails, like I've talked about in previous live streams. We're going to just jump into this podcast. And like I said, we're going to go through some of the things that stood out to me. So like I said, I have linked this podcast down below. We're going to go through some of the timestamped moments that I think are kind of notable, that we should go through. So this is a podcast from the Murder Sheet, where they are interviewing Bart. I don't know his current last name. He was the once stepson of Tony Kline, which Tony Kline is the father of Kegan Kline, who is responsible for the Anthony Shots profile that was last reported to have talked to the girls before they died, the day before they died. So Liberty, I guess, was in communication with Kegan prior. And so this is an interview with a guy named Bart, who his mom was married to Tony at one point when he was younger. Okay. Paige says Kegan. Yeah, we're going to go Kegan, I guess. But yeah, thanks for hitting that like button. Let's get over 100 likes. Let's get rolling. So this is the interview.
I mean, he was the person that I called dad for at least a period of my time, when I was a kid.
Absolutely. I know in your email to me, you said that he was the worst person you've ever known. And I guess, could I ask you to sort of expand upon that and tell us how you came to realize that?
Well, I mean, my childhood was surrounded by fear of him, and because of what an abusive person he was. Physical abuse is what was, brought on my sister, my mother, and me by this guy. And so I grew up thinking that was normal until I saw other kids at other, houses, and I would go over there and I realized things are different. And, I never was a kid that had friends over because I was terrified of what would happen if they were there. And so, yeah, I've never met anyone else like him because that was, I spent so much of my childhood fearing him that, to me, I just didn't think there was, anyone worse. And I still don't. I don't have like this hidden animosity where I sit around and I think about what happened towards him. I've forgiven all of that, but I still do, just the things that I witnessed as a kid and the feelings that I had, he is a very, in my opinion, an evil person.
So not a great description of this Tony guy. And I just want to say everything that we talk about in terms of speculation around this case, it's all speculation at this point, right? We have our assumptions. People assume they know who Bridge Guy is, or they have an idea of who they think Bridge Guy is. Or people think they absolutely Kegan could have nothing to do with this. Some people think he has everything to do with this. This is all speculation. I think one thing we can take away from this, and at the end of all this that you'll realize, is that even if these people don't have anything to do with this case. If what is being said here is true, this is just an awful situation in and of itself. And so it's definitely worth looking at, considering they are definitely tied to this case in some way or another. So I'll give you guys my opinion towards the end. But yeah, it's regardless of the connection, which I do think that there is one, I'll be honest. It's just an awful story. Allegations, alleged, speculation. Yeah, all of it. Thank you, Alicia. Good to see you in here, Alicia. Also, shout out to all the mods in here today. Thank you guys so much for being here. All right, continuing on to the 6:45 mark, where he starts to kind of describe the abuse. Once again, if this is triggering to you guys, maybe join for another video.
Do you describe sort of the acts of violence that he sort of perpetrated against you and your sister and your mom?
So a lot of times they would stem from just being at dinner. And I remember a plate getting smashed against the wall and spaghetti being on the wall. And that's how I feel like a lot of times it all started, was when it was, maybe it was just when we were together, all gathered around. But, so, I saw my sister throw through a door before. I saw Tony, on top of my mom, physically punching her multiple times. We went to Christmas, Thanksgiving, holidays, and my mom would have black eyes, a broken nose, would be wearing glasses. And it just was not a hidden thing. And so that's really, I think that was mostly what it was just very physical. And he's a big dude, or at least, I haven't seen him in years, but at least he was. And, that's what I remember, is him being much bigger than us and, just punching a lot.
Once again, terrible description of the abuse that not only he, but obviously his mom, his sister, everyone was on the receiving end of that abuse. And it's hard to hear for sure. Let's read a few comments here. Darla Hurst, thank you for becoming a level 1 supporter. Good to have you, Darla. You've been around for so long. I really appreciate that support. Thank you so much. Miss Glass says, I think Kegan is possibly Bridge Guy. Bridge Guy looks older, but so does Kegan. Interesting. I'll give you guys my theory at the end, or towards the end. But I have just something in my head that I can't quite shake with this whole thing. All right, 10:30. This is an interesting story around kind of the name changing of this Bart guy.
In the same time, my last name was my father's last name, my family's last name, but yet with no legal reason, they went to the school and had me use his last name for like 2 years. I was Bart Kline, and that drove me crazy. It drove my dad crazy, and the school just, it just happened. Mom just went there, and that's what my name was, and so that's what it was. And not to blame her at all. This was Tony's doing. He wanted everything about him. And so even though my name was not Kline, I was, for a year of football and wrestling and baseball, I was Bart Kline. And it was this huge thing with all my friends, and my coaches were confused, and I hated it. It was very embarrassing for me, but that's just one instance of his, just where he has to be like the dominant figure,
Right. It's like, forget what my stepson will think or how this will affect him. I need to show my ownership almost.
Yeah, absolutely.
Clearly he was upset at that, but this is someone who really, I guess, couldn't do anything. And clearly the mom was being controlled to an extent as well, because if he was upset about this, it's not like the mom could step in and say, oh, we don't want this. He was clearly, he being Tony, was running that entire situation. And it was fueled by anger and abuse. So it's I don't think anyone was going to step up and try to stop it at that point, because they didn't want to be on that end of the abuse, I would assume. Yes.
In terms of some of this really horrific abuse and sort of physical abuse, do you know at any point if he came on law enforcement radar for any of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. When I think I was in the 4th grade, or in between. I think I was going into the 3rd grade, and because we still lived in Peru, and basically one night I had a bathroom in my room and it constantly clogged and had an issue. Hold on one second. My son is right next to me.
He's talking about Peru, Indiana, by the way.
No worries. And take your time if you have to, take any breaks or anything like that.
Yeah. So, I remember I had a bathroom in my bedroom and it constantly clogged, and he was always pissed off about it. He was always, mad that he was in there trying to fix it. So that was like basically off limits to me. Well, I think I either needed to go really bad. Maybe it was, for whatever reason I used it and it clogged. And so I went and told my mom, and he overheard. So he came into the room. He pulled me into the room and shoved my head down the toilet, and then onto the sink, and then out into my bedroom, like tossed me out into the bedroom. And so he went to go grab a plunger, and I just ran out of my room. And I ran out the front door, and it was raining. I don't remember what time of night it was, but it was dark, and it was raining. And I turned left, and I just ran to, I think it's State Road 19 was the closest road, I believe. And so I ran to that corner, and I was just sticking my thumb out like I needed a ride. And this car stopped, and this guy got out, and he comes over to me, and he said, "Bart, what are you doing?" And it was my baseball coach. And he took me into his truck or his Jeep, then went to his house. And I remember there was like a family gathering or something because I remember walking into the house, and there was like, it just seemed like there was a lot of people there for what would be this house. And they surrounded me, and they were asking me what happened. And then I was telling them. They called the cops. And so Tony went to jail that night, and I went back home. And he couldn't see us I can't remember the exact amount of time, but he had a no contact order with my mom, myself, and my sister. And he did his time that he got on the weekends. So he would go to jail like every weekend for, I don't know the time frame. And then got back, that I was entering, this was over a year's time, I believe, because I think I was going into the 5th grade when he came back into, like my life after I thought he was gone for good.
So terrible situation. Also an example of people being in an abusive situation and not always able to even escape it. This kid ran out of his house, found his baseball coach, ran into his baseball coach. And then this guy was still able to kind of somewhat be in his life. He just had to serve weekend jail time, I guess, which is that just like, it's not community service, but it's like, I hadn't heard much of situations like that. But it's crazy. And Miss Glass, yes, the Murder Sheet has been doing great with these interviews. Absolutely. They are linked down below. If you guys want to follow the entire thing yourself. Like I said, we're listening at 1.25 speed right now, so it's a little bit fast. I'm excluding some things, but I'm including a lot. And so let's get back to it because we're going to be going over some of the voices. I have my Premiere.
And him and Mom just tried to work on things. And
I have my Premiere set up right now. So we can go in. I have the different voices that we're going to listen to here in a little bit of the bridge guy, as well as from Kegan in the jailhouse interview that he did with that writer that we talked about in the last stream. So anyways, continuing on, just terrible. He goes on to basically say that he ran into Bart years later because his mother ended up leaving him, finding I don't know what the thing was. She finally built up enough to be able to leave the situation, which good for her. They got out of it. He saw him years later. I think he said a couple of years, 2-3 years later at a movie theater. And he said he felt someone tap his shoulder and it was Tony. He said he didn't really recognize him at first. He had looked a little bit different. He may have even tried to forget this guy because he sounded like he was an absolute monster. And then he kind of acted like super friendly toward him. How's it going? How have you been? All these things. And I guess he was very short with him because obviously this guy's going to a movie, trying to have a good time. He probably didn't want to see his crazy monster, evil stepdad. And I'll say it. If what this guy's saying, which I have every reason to believe that this is true based on the allegations and the charges brought against Kegan, it sounds like this guy sounds like evil for sure, a monster for sure. So, anyways, so let's talk about he talks about the lies that Kegan would get himself into. So we're gonna skip ahead a little bit here to the 19-minute and 30-ish second mark of the video. Also, Sasha, good to see you in here. I saw you joined. Great informative interview. Yeah, Sasha, this is an awesome interview. Yeah, Cosmic Shy, the nerve of that animal. Absolutely. It's crazy. But now we're going to talk a little bit about Kegan, because of course this Bart guy, during the time of, having Tony as a stepdad, obviously had interactions with Kegan. So let's listen to a little bit of that.
So one time you sent me this picture. It was clearly a photoshopped picture. And it was, this was when he was supposedly living in Las Vegas.
So this is Vegas. This is Kegan supposedly living in Vegas, sending Bart a photo. So we're talking about Kegan now. Thanks.
And he sent me this freaking photo that was him with, like, in this environment. Like, they were out in this desert, and there was these like t-shirt salesman places. It was like being at a band, and they had a bunch of these little venues set up where you can go around and buy shirts. Well, it was clearly a terrible photoshopped photo. And I texted him. I was like, hey, what are you doing? This is not you. And he makes up some lie about, I'm trying to learn Photoshop. I was wondering if you'd catch that. And so that's a very small version of, like, the type of lies that we would get, that we clearly know are lies. And, whereas a normal parent would say, this is an issue, we need to speak about this. Like, why are you constantly lying like this? Like, no, Tony, there's no chance that's ever happening with him,
Right. It really sounds like you mentioned, like, Tony was so controlling with you guys, but you didn't really see that controlling dynamic with Kegan.
No, not at all. And I don't know. I think maybe growing up, I thought I just attributed that as, like, Tony just becoming a better person, maybe, that he didn't need to treat people the way that he always did. But then, over the years, I heard what he did to his different girlfriends and things like that. So I knew that the abuse did not stop. Kegan knew about that.
Right.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, it is bizarre behavior for sure. Also, yeah, I mean, I see the comment about his name, or his voice, Tony's voice, being high pitched, and he does go into talk about that, and we'll get to that in a moment. Because initially, when I heard people talking about reports of Tony's voice being high pitched, I was just thinking, well, is it just high pitched now that they're like everyone's hyper analyzing the voices? My thought was, let's try to find a video of Tony from pre-2017 and see if his voice is high pitched. Because my thought was, well, maybe he's just trying to dodge even being questioned about the voice if he just kind of makes his voice higher, since we have this audio of Bridge Guy. But if Bart's talking about his voice being higher pitched, that obviously came at a time that was prior to the Delphi, to the murders. And so I don't think it's probably his voice, and I'll get to my theory in a moment. But once again, I think it's one of those things. We'll go through the voices, and I'll give my kind of 2 cents at the end. Be sure to hit that like button, guys. We have 240 something people in here, 131 likes. I really appreciate that. Also, thanks so much to Cosmic Shy for the $1.99 super sticker. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And Sasha coming in with a $20 Canadian. Thanks, Aaron and Mods. A little towards the documentary fund. Sasha, thank you so much. I just booked my flights back to go shoot at the end of April, early May for the documentary. All of that goes a long way. Really appreciate that support. Thank you so much, Sasha and Cosmic Shy. Thank you again. All right, continuing on.
And I'm curious, you mentioned, like, the Las Vegas thing. Do you know what Tony and Kegan were doing, like, circa 2017? Like, did anything change at that point, or same old, same old?
To be honest, I have tried to think back, like I've not had a very, like, close relationship with him. It's, I think I've been the closest sibling for sure, but, like, it wasn't that I would hang out with him on a consistent basis. It's just that we talked a lot about video games and movies and things. And I think I was just there for him to like talk to in general. But I'm sorry, what was your question again? I think I got off track.
No, you're fine. I was wondering if you kind of were keeping track of what they were doing, like circa 2017.
Oh, yeah, no, I had no clue. I thought Kegan was living in Las Vegas, and that, you know, for the longest time, like I was astonished when they, like the police and all these people are like, well, he's only been to Vegas for a couple of days, and we can prove that. And so that to me is pretty crazy, because he told our entire family that he was living there for, I thought, like 3 years.
So that's a strange one to me. When I heard that, law enforcement confirmed, no, this Kegan guy was only in Vegas for a few days, like, which they're probably very easily able to, like, you know, run credit cards, and just, even if they were to, they could do a lot without even obtaining cell phone data to prove that he wasn't in Vegas for, you know, weeks or even years, like the family was made to believe. So that's a strange one to me, that that people were under the impression that he was like in Vegas for at least several years. He seems like a compulsive liar at the very least. So yeah, the Vegas thing is strange for sure. Okay, 23. Okay, so we're just going to roll into this next spot.
I know I didn't see him in at least probably 3 years. And to me, I thought he was in Vegas that entire time, which I'm guessing now it seems like he wasn't. So.
Right. It's such an elaborate lie to put out there. I'm curious, have you gotten contacted by police about Tony or Kegan?
Oh, yes. Yeah. They had my wrong phone number for the longest time. And then when they actually got my number, they contacted me. I went in and met with the state police and the FBI, and we met for like 3 hours, and I just answered all their questions the best I could. You know, they had just a bunch of things about growing up. And that was really what it was to me, it was like a lot of what happened in this regard, you know, can you remember these dates? And that's what I just was honest. I said, yeah, this is what I know about what happened when we were growing up. And that's pretty much what they asked me about exclusively.
Do you get the sense that they think that perhaps Tony was involved in the Delphi murders?
Well, they wouldn't tell me that. Like I asked multiple questions, and they wouldn't answer any of mine, obviously. Like that's just typical. But I thought that the vibe I got from them was, yes, they thought Tony was involved somehow.
That's a bombshell. That's a bombshell. I mean, he was obviously interrogated by law enforcement, different agencies around the case. Imagine if he would have said no. If they asked him, like, have you been, has anyone talked to you? If he just said no, like, I would question whether or not this guy was the real guy in the first place, because obviously he's been spoken to about this case. But for him to say that the vibe that he got was that, and that may just be because they were really questioning him due to his connection to Tony and then, of course, Kegan. It could have been the way that it was all interpreted through the questioning that he was put through. But it sounds like he thought that the vibe that he was getting from them was that, yeah, they thought it was because there could be a connection there. Layla says, what I don't get is if law enforcement has DNA and Kegan or his dad are responsible, how have they not been arrested? Well, Kegan, for those of you who are unaware, is currently sitting in jail for, I think, 30 plus counts of child basically soliciting minors, trying to get photos, also possession of multiple counts of child P, possession of child P. Kegan, if he has nothing to do with this at the end of this, he will still likely serve a considerable amount of time depending on how his entire case pans out. I mean, he's in for a world of hurt right now just for the kid, what he's in there for. Sorry, I'm all over the place, but my mouse is freaking out now. But yeah, Kegan is in jail, and that's what I'm getting at. I think that they're building a case right now, and that they're very, very close. I think that Kegan has something to do with this. I'll get to it. Because I have a theory, and I don't know. At the end of it, I don't know. I don't want to say I'm right, but I think I'm onto something here. I don't know, and maybe I could be completely wrong. They might not be close, but we'll see. Okay, continuing. Let's see. We are going to go to the. Let's see. We're at 24:31. All right, 25:52.
Did he ever threaten you or anyone you know with like a knife or anything like that, or did he own knives?
Yeah, absolutely. Weapons were just a normal part of it's whatever he had handy, whatever was closest reach. Didn't matter what it was. Baseball bat. He threw a computer, like an old desktop computer, at me one time. Ripped it right up from the ground, and this was because he was installing a racing game on the computer. It was an old Gateway, and he was installing a game on that computer, and it didn't have enough RAM or something, and it wouldn't run. And so I tried to explain that to him, that you would need an upgrade in order to run this game. And he absolutely snapped. I tried to sprint out of the room, and he grabbed the entire desktop, ripped it up with the cords and everything, and threw it at me down the hallway. And so that's that. Weapons, yes, that was anything around. Yeah.
And he was a hunter. Is that right?
Yes. He always had lots of guns, lots of knives.
So think about this. This guy's trying to install a game on a computer, a working computer, and he ends up ripping the computer with cords plugged in and throwing it across the room at someone. That's not just like, oh, this person gets a little bit mad every now and then. That's like that's crazy behavior. All right. 2801.
Right. That makes sense.
You talked about the anger inside Tony. I was curious. Did you ever see that kind of anger inside Kegan?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, Kegan's just a big, angry guy. That's how he has always been. His way of dealing with things is a lot like his dad's, unfortunately. I don't know of any time he's ever been physical with women or anything like that, but Kegan will be the first person to absolutely explode on you for no reason whatsoever. I mean, in a tirade, and it's just he's an angry guy. I've always just known him as being a pretty angry kid.
So once again, I mean, it sounds like father, like son in that way, and that Kegan was kind of a hothead, obviously, as well, and could just blow up at any given moment over seemingly nothing. All right, I'm liking the comments that are coming through. By the way, thank you guys for engaging with each other in the chat. As I'm going through this right now, I'm not engaging with you guys as much. I'm seeing your guys' comments, though, and I love to see you guys going back and forth and giving your guys' opinions. We will definitely talk more about it in kind of a back and forth way once we're through this. Because like I said, I have some things I want to say.
And then I had a question. You talked about hearing Tony's voice at the movie theater a few years ago. I was curious. I assume you've heard the audio of the person on the bridge saying, "Guys, down the hill." Did that sound like it could have been Tony to you?
No, it didn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he has a very kind of high-pitched, weird voice. It's not deep at all. So yeah, I did not think it was Tony.
Did it sound like Kegan?
It did sound like Kegan. I will be honest.
Yikes.
I'm just going to be honest. I did. It did sound like him to me. Yeah.
Wow. That's a bomb dropped right there. Because here's the thing, Tony is out, right? Kegan's awaiting trial for his countless crimes against children. Tony's like out and about, and so like for this guy to say that, like, it takes a little bit of bravery for one, because this Tony guy could just absolutely come after him on behalf of Kegan, right? So it's just like. Also, polka dots. Yeah, someone could deepen their voice to sound more intimidating. Yeah, certainly. Nothing is out of the realm of possibilities here, right? It could definitely be someone altering their voice. But yeah, that's to just say flat out, like, yeah, it sounded like Kegan. It's a wild one. But yeah, okay, so did Londoner talk about a theory of a bigger ring? One girl who was groomed by Kegan online says he would send her pics of guns. Oh yeah, so that's another one, Londoner. There's another interview we can kind of touch on in a little bit, maybe depending on how long we go on the stream today. I know we're only like 40 minutes in right now, but there's another interview with a girl named Kayla, and she's a girl who was 12 years old when Kegan supposedly was 17, and he was essentially trying to groom her as well, and was like threatening her with a gun. And once again, this girl, I absolutely believe what she's saying, but once again, like, they ask her in the interview, do you have that old phone? Can you prove that those messages came through? And she said no, like, it's an old Facebook account on an old phone or something like that. She has a new Facebook because she's now married with a new last name. And so we have to take all that with a grain of salt. But if that's all true, then the abuse doesn't only like transfer down to Kegan. It almost sounds like Kegan's worse than his father. And his father sounds terrible. Margaret says, the voice sounds like Kegan. The voice may not come from the bridge. There could have been a man standing nearby off the bridge. Okay, so let's just talk a little bit about my theory. Personally, because Lindsay was talking to Londoner about communications online, possibly selling images online and communicating with fellow predators. That is apparently a thing, right? You have online predators. You have people that collect CP, which, look up what that means. I just don't say it on here. It's a naughty word on YouTube. They don't like you talking about it. People that do that oftentimes are in communication with other people that do that, and they share images of these kids. And it's like a thing. It's like a community of people that it's like a database, a network of people, and it's disgusting. It's terrible, but it happens, and it's very real. Kegan was known to be someone who is soliciting photos of minors. It is absolutely possible that he was working with other people because he was talking to Libby about meeting up. His phone, which he doesn't recall messaging her, it is 100%. Law enforcement has talked about it, or it's confirmed that his Snapchat account communicated with Libby's account, or with Abby's account, Libby's account. Yeah. What are the odds of that? Like, why? And here's another thing. If he's communicating to one person, you can almost be certain that he's communicating to as many as he possibly can. He's probably sending out hundreds of messages in an attempt to get even 10 people to respond to him, right? So I don't doubt that he was talking to potentially another dozen people in addition to Libby. But to deny you having any, not remembering communicating with her, that I don't buy. I think he's full of it when he says he doesn't remember that he communicated with her. It's very suspicious that Kegan communicated with Libby the day before they were brutally murdered out in public. It's very suspicious to me. And so I personally think Kegan was there already, potentially there already at the end of the trail, or had, let me go to the maps. Okay. A little, we're going to brush up on the maps here. Libby and Abby dropped off right here, okay? They cut in to the trail at this point. This is the beginning of the Monon High Bridge Trail. This is the entrance to the trail. They were dropped off here by the sister. They were said to, they were going to be picked up by the father. They would have walked down the trail here. The purple is indicating the actual search area from day one of the search. This is where the Monon High Bridge starts. So they would have walked across this entire bridge. These little platforms are where they would have stood to take the photos that we know from the Snapchat, or that we know, were pulled from Snapchat. And then, of course, at the very end is the abduction site. This is the end where they were filming back towards this direction, and that's where Bridge Guy's at. That's where we know the infamous video of Bridge Guy. They would have been pointed back down towards that end of the bridge there, and then the abduction site is marked here, and then down the hill would be down the hill towards the creek bed, or the little creek that runs through there, and then the exit would be here, and then the murder scene would be here. Okay, I personally think that whoever met up with them did not park near the entrance to the Monon High Bridge. There's probably, looks like a little, carved out parking area that's probably, 10, 12 cars, something like that, maybe in that area. And that's where the public can park. I think that this person likely parked at the cemetery. I talk about this in my previous two streams. The cemeteries often are pretty low traffic areas. There's very little people at cemetery, depending on the day, right? There's certain days out of the year that people visit cemeteries more often. Valentine's Day may have been one of those. I talked about that in my last stream. Someone could have been visiting a past, husband or wife could have been visiting on Valentine's Day, stopping by. However, it would have been very easy to park here and cut across to where they knew they could have been, and then cut them off. I think Bridge Guy would have come from the cemetery over to here, entered the bridge, and then cut them off. I think Kegan could have been there. And here's the thing. I don't necessarily think Kegan is Bridge Guy. I don't think it looks like him. I just don't think it's him. However, they've never disclosed whether or not when that audio was taken. The audio of guys down the hill was not taken when this video was happening. This isn't the audio of guys down the hill wasn't from this clip. They released this clip independently from the guys down the hill thing. And in fact, the guys down the hill, those could be two different clips. The guys could have been a separate thing from a different sentence. They could be just giving out this little segment of the video in terms of the audio for that matching the, trying to get an audio match on someone for the public. It is very possible that law enforcement has so much more audio that they haven't released that could be super convincing in one way or another. I think that it's a strong possibility that Kegan is the voice that you hear. Before we go to the end of that podcast, the end of the podcast, we'll just do this. And once again, this is just me kind of thinking out loud. I just think it's too suspicious for him to be communicating with them and have this kind of a record and for this to happen. Could it have happened? Could it have just been pure coincidence? Possibly. Margaret says, I think Tony is Bridgeman. I think it's possible as well. I think it's very possible. All right, we're going to listen here. Everything that you see here in blue, this little thing's going to be moving, is going to be Kegan's voice from jail, from the interview in jail. Okay. And then everything that you see in green is a repeat of the guys down the hill part. Okay. So I've sprinkled the guys down the hill in between all of this to just kind of be able to go back and forth between Kegan's voice and then the guys down the hill voice. Alex says, yeah, but the only hill is at the end of the bridge. Yeah. So you're talking about the hill. Yeah. So there's definitely a hill. Like this is I definitely think that the audio of Guys Down the Hill happened down here. I don't know if I fully finished that sentence, so thank you, Alex, for mentioning that. The audio from Guys Down the Hill probably wasn't, and I don't think it was from this video. It was from a different part of the video. A lot of people think that she started filming and put the phone in her pocket, and it recorded a lot more than what we actually have. The Guys Down the Hill part could have been from when this guy approached much closer, and possibly at that point, Kegan came out of the woodworks, wherever he was, or he was already with them. We don't know. He didn't come up in any photos. That doesn't mean that he wasn't there waiting for them. And then all of a sudden, Bridge Guy comes out and they're surrounded, and then Kegan drops the guys down the hill. It's possible. I think it's super possible. Let's listen to this audio real quick. Like I said, I sprinkled the guys down the hill in between all of this just to kind of go back and forth between the voices.
I feel like I'm being harassed completely. Not at all. And I've gave up my DNA, a hair follicle test. I've done everything they wanted me to. I don't really know. I was just lonely, you know what I mean? Just talking to people. I don't know why I did it, really. I have not a clue. I think it's because they said I was the last person to talk to her, is what they've told me. No, 100% no. No, I don't. 100% no. No, I don't. No.
He said a lot of no's during that interview, by the way. So I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know. Curious if you think it kind of sounds like him or not. Ang T Sun says, why was Kegan not charged until August 2020 when they had phone info and had questioned him March 2017? Him being charged in 2020 was because they were able to link the Anthony Shots profile to all of the different charges that were brought onto him around the soliciting photos of minors and things like that. It's hard to say with the audio. I know a lot of people say it sounds like them. At the same time, one could say that the guy in this podcast sounds like Bridge Guy. I was listening to that earlier. Listen to this guy. He kind of sounds like him. I'm not saying that obviously.
Did they either of them go to Delphi ever? Was that some place they would have hung out or knew about?
I mean, I really
he doesn't sound as raspy right now, but that's what I'm saying. There could be, a lot of people in that area could sound like Bridge Guy. Alicia says, I can't get over the fact that they talk about there being more distinct markings in the deaths, like what that means, some kind of signature. Sorry, I'm drinking some tea. Yeah, the questions surrounding the deaths obviously are, it would be interesting to know, right? So if it was some kind of signature, I feel like possibly they'd be able to link that to one of them in some way or another. So who knows? I just think it's so suspicious, the connection with Kegan and the Anthony Shots profile, that it's worth at least talking about. Sasha says, I very rarely say much, but they sound like one in the same. Angela, I think it's pretty messed up that both of these guys are throwing each other under the bus. I too think that. Londoner says, I thought the same, but I'm from the UK, so can't really differentiate much on US accents. Interesting. Yeah. Okay. We're going to finish the podcast notes here, and then we'll go into a couple more things. 38. They're talking about where Tony works. So I'm going to show that on the maps while we listen.
Last year, I don't need to steal gas and...
Wait. Hold on. 38. Here we go.
I don't know. It was definitely weird.
This is a weird question, but did Tony, did he always work at the Kokomo transmission plant? And I mean, what was his financial situation when you were in the same household as him?
Oh, all that guy ever talked about is how much money he made. Yeah, I remember one time the police officer came and knocked on the door when we lived in Young America, and there was this old beater car, this blue car he kept around. I don't remember what for, but he hardly ever drove it. But this cop came and said, knocked on the door, and I answered it, and Tony was mowing the yard. And so the cop kind of walked out towards him. Tony hopped off the mower and met him in the middle. And the guy was like, "Sir, we've had a report of this blue car being involved, or a car that looks like this being involved in stealing gas." And he flipped on this cop and was like, "I made $93,000 last year. I don't need to steal gas and blah, blah, blah." But yeah, so back then, he worked at Chrysler, as far as I knew, the whole time. Maybe still does, I don't know. But, he always talked about how much money he had.
Right, absolutely. And did he always work third shift?
That's a good question. I really don't know.
So he doesn't know about the third shift thing. All right, the transcript. This is interesting.
I had a question here. We happened to get a copy of a part of a transcript from when the police were questioning Kegan right after he was arrested. And I wanted to read just a small part of it to check something with you. One of the officers says, "We had this case a while back. This little kid was in the bathroom and overflowed the toilet. So he yells for help, and the dad gets pissed off, comes to the kid. Mom intervenes. The dad punches the mother. She runs away. He chases her down, hits her, bites her in the stomach, runs back inside, slams the kid's head into the toilet, fractures his orbital socket, puts him upside down, and starts dunking his head into the toilet that was overflowed." That sounds like the incident you were describing. I just wanted to confirm, is the child in that story you?
That was me.
Yikes.
And they say to Kegan, "What do you think should be done about that guy?" And Kegan said he should get hung right now. He should be killed.
Right, yeah, I didn't know that. But yeah, that's me. I've never heard that.
That's crazy. And it basically confirms, right? This is a transcript from police records of this incident, an incident. And that is describing exactly what he talked to them about getting, abused in that way, specifically around the toilet incident. So it almost makes me trust everything that this guy said. They didn't talk about this ahead of time. Let's see. TD, hey, I feel like I haven't seen you in a while. Infuriating, horrific. Yeah. It's crazy. All right. This is the kind of closing statement, and then we'll continue on.
I flipped through the scenarios of who would be upset with me if I said anything, or if I didn't be anonymous. And I have no reason to be anonymous. I have no reason to I don't care who is upset about what I've said. And, I've just been honest about what happened when I was a kid. And if that makes Tony look bad, then so be it, because he is a bad guy. So, that's it. And if you guys, find out you want to have another question, if you want to email me or talk to me again, that's fine. This was not as hard to do as I thought. I kind of was nervous earlier, but it's been kind of good, actually.
Good for him being able to talk through that stuff, because I'm sure it's, like he said, he was nervous at first to do so. And I would assume so, considering how traumatic those, the situations were that he was describing. Mystery Christie, how old is Bart? I would imagine that Bart is probably either in his early 30s or late 20s based on Kegan's age, and just based on the age of kind of Tony and the family. And yeah, Bart, I did leave that part out, Lynn, but Bart did mention that Tony's father, so the grandfather of Kegan, was a really, really nice guy. So take that for what it is. Obviously, he was saying, that could have just been the way he was around him. But that's good to hear, I guess, that he has one decent memory from that time. I played this video. These are the videos from the Kegan interview from jail that we just listened to, but I want to play this one more time. It's only a couple minutes that gives you an idea of this guy's headspace, and you actually get to hear the interviewer as well. So I'm going to play this very briefly, and then we're going to continue chatting.
I feel like I'm being harassed completely.
Did you?
Also, sorry, I pause a lot, but you know what? For him to feel like he's being harassed, this guy's sick. This guy's disgusting. This guy harasses and preys on young children. It's terrible. He has no right to feel like he's being harassed now in jail. Screw this guy.
I feel like I'm being harassed completely.
Did you have anything to do with the murders of Abby or Libby?
Not at all, and I've gave up my DNA, a hair follicle test. I've done everything they wanted me to.
In December, Delphi investigators announced that catfish account Anthony Schatz was active on Instagram and Snapchat in 2016 and 2017, and they asked for anyone who interacted with that profile to come forward. But more than a year ago, then 26-year-old Kegan Kline admitted to investigators that he was behind the fake profile and that he used it to ask young girls for nude pictures and videos. Tell me about Anthony Schatz. Why did you create that profile?
I don't really know. I was just lonely, you know what I mean?
Lonely. That was it. Other than that, you don't know. This is what I went off on this guy in my last stream. You can go back on that. I'm just clearly doing the same thing here. This guy's full of the emoji that Alex just used. I don't know. Yet this profile was talking to dozens of young girls, he was asking for photos. Like, oh, you don't know what you were using that account for? Get out of here.
Just talking to people. I don't know why I did it, really.
And were you ever trying to meet these girls in real life that you were talking to?
No, never.
Just 11 days after the murders of Abby and Libby, task force investigators served a search warrant on the home that Kegan shared with his dad. At the time, the FBI told the Lafayette Journal and Courier they found nothing to indicate a connection to the Delphi case. Kegan's electronics were confiscated then, but he wasn't arrested until 3 years later. He's now facing 30 counts of child pornography and child solicitation in Miami County, Indiana, unrelated to the Delphi murders. He says, though, that Indiana State Police told him Anthony Schatz had been communicating with Libby before her murder. So why do you think investigators are putting so much focus on you right now?
I have not a clue. I think it's because they said I was the last person to talk to her, is what they've told me.
And then she shows up at the bridge and they're abducted and later found dead.
Right.
I feel like I'm being harassed completely.
Right, he says.
They've told me.
And then she shows up at the bridge and they're abducted and later found dead.
Right. But why are you questioning me, though? I mean, they confirmed that his phone, his account, was talking to her. Just like Alicia said, why would he think that they wouldn't be questioning him on this case? There are similarities. Yeah. This guy. Also, who was it? It's way up here, I think. Was it Chris? Yeah, Chris Davis says when he talks, it's almost third person regarding the Schatz account. That's another thing that needs to be mentioned. I think that he talked about his dad in the transcript. I don't know if you guys were able to see the last video. I'm going to get the playlist figured out. My last stream from 4 days ago is a really solid stream, and it's an hour and 20 minutes long, but really we talk about like the bulk of it in the first hour. It's worth going back on because we align what he said in the transcripts from his early interrogations on the case, where he was admitting to law enforcement what he was doing with that phone. He admitted in the transcripts he was using that phone to solicit minors, to get photos from minors. He was, he was grooming children essentially, using this phone, using this Anthony Shots profile. He admitted that. It's in the transcripts. Yet when this writer calls him up, this guy doesn't have. He literally doesn't have it in him to tell the truth to her. Yet he told the truth. It's like it makes no sense. This guy's crazy. Also, he says in the transcripts that his dad had access to his phone, which is another suspicious thing. And his dad had access to his Snapchat. I'll tell you, my parents, when I lived with them, they didn't have access to any of my social media accounts. That's a strange thing. If they would have asked for it, I would have been like, why? It would have been strange. Why on earth would your dad have access to your Snapchat, one that has proven to be been communicating with young underage children? There are definitely, even if, like I said at the beginning of this, even if these guys are involved directly with the murder of Abby and Libby, these guys had something to do with, they're connected to it in some way because they were talking to these girls. But these guys, it's not just these guys. It's not just him and his dad. There are more people. This is they're going to probably uncover way more around this, there could be like sex trafficking stuff with all this. These guys could be, it's crazy what they could be uncovering, even if it's not finding Bridge Guy, finding the exact people related to Delphi.
And that was not you?
No, 100% not.
Kegan says he has no memory or knowledge of communicating with Libby, and investigators haven't confirmed if what he says is true. Do you think you're going to be charged with anything related to Abby and Libby's murder?
No, I don't.
So the state police haven't threatened that?
No.
Real piece of work, that guy. Real piece of work. CSI Crowdsourced Illumination says, I really wonder if BG was the, quote, driver and moved the girls toward a trap where someone else was waiting. My theory, that's a really good point. My theory has always been that I think that there were multiple people involved, or I feel like I'm always going to stick by the theory that someone parked here, walked through the woods. Bridge Guy walked through the woods. He would have had to go up a few hills, go through some terrain, met them here at the end of the bridge, and tried to get them back to, if he was indeed at the cemetery, back to his car, because their bodies were found roughly around here, okay? To me, it seems like they were trying to, whoever Bridge Guy is, get them back away from the trail, get them back towards the road, for example. If they were indeed parked here, this would make the most sense to me. CSI Crowdwork says, I really wonder if BG was the driver. Yeah, absolutely could have been. There could have been someone else here to try to get them to the car. This could have been the point where Abby and Libby decided to fight back, and then things just went south from there, and we know what happened afterwards. I also personally think that Bridge Guy looks to have potentially a weapon in his pocket. We'll go through that in a second. Even if he didn't have a gun, if he had a knife, he could have been acting alone in that moment, and the knife could have been used to control the two girls. Because here we have two girls. If it is just one guy, they could have probably ran and separated in some way and been able to at least have one of them get away. You know what I mean? From the situation. So part of me thinks there had to have either been A, another person waiting around the corner or down the hill, or B, Bridge Guy had a weapon of some sort and was able to control them to the point where he almost got them where he wanted to go, but not quite. That's really my thoughts. Alicia, going to make some tea. I'm sipping some tea as well. My mulling over maps mug is unfortunately it's getting washed, but I have my my beautiful mug here made by Kevin Kowalski. Shout out to Kevin Kowalski. Where's his stamp? There it is. KK. Kevin's done some stuff with Seth Rogen. It's pretty cool. Some pottery. Mystery Christie. How's it going with the How's It Going super sticker? Thank you so much. How's it going? It's going well. Thank you so much for the super sticker, Mystery Christie. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you're doing well. Angela says, yes, 2 guys. It either is 2 guys, 2 people involved, or a weapon, right? And then something went south and that's where it all ended. I feel like they would have been able to. Then again, maybe they stuck together. I don't know. You just never know. Let me open up the phone lines. I don't know if, and I know Alicia just left. Let me get the phone lines going when she gets back. Oh no, she just commented. Maybe if she's heating her tea or something. Feel free to call in if you have any thoughts. I love opening up the lines in these videos because I get to like actually go back and forth with people that call in. I'm going to get that Google Voice number posted here. I'll pin it. Feel free to call in. Since they were smart enough to film him, I am surprised one of them didn't run. Maybe one wanted the other to run and she wouldn't leave here. Possibly. Yeah, possibly. Sasha says a weapon and 2 involved. Possibly. Yeah. Yes, there's the phone line. Thank you so much, Alicia. Thank you, Alex, also for posting that link to the mug. Message pinned. If you'd like to call in, feel free. 305-985-2690. It's a Google Voice number. There's no line. You just have to try to get in between different calls. So it's kind of first come, first serve kind of thing. Maybe he had a taser and tased one of them. I mean, there's so many possibilities, right? In an effort to control the situation. I'm assuming there was some sort of a weapon, something to control them more than just his voice, right? Patty says, if BG grabbed the one girl, the other might have tried to help her friend instead of running. It's a strong possibility as well. Man, I just started to think a little bit more about like these girls and like this situation. It's easy to just like think about this case. It's horrific. Damn, this is tough. This is a tough one. Did someone say something about guys being referring to co-perpetrators? Always thought it as addressing the girls. Interesting. Yeah. Imagine. Well, because here's my thought. I really think that that Kegan, if he was involved, if he was going to meet them there that day, could have been there. He could have been there with them, and then all of a sudden a second guy comes in, and that would make sense to say, guys, like everyone down the hill. All right.
Call from Margaret.
All right.
To accept, press 1. To send a voice.
Hey, Margaret, how's it going?
Hi.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you for inviting.
Of course. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think it's really strange how Abby is being photographed on the bridge and there is no bridge man there on the bridge. And then when there's the recording of the bridge man there, he's about maybe 10 feet from the end where they are video recording, probably out of fear, knowing they're trapped. And he just shows up on the bridge from where?
Right.
He's not there before, and then all of a sudden he shows up, and then the voice says, down the hill, that could be over on the right-hand side of the girls, that voice coming from, and it's just being captured as their video recording because now they know they're being trapped. And
right.
I shared also a link for you to look at when you're done of the voice comparison another YouTuber did that's really good. She went over his Kegan's voice over and over in comparison to it. And that's all that video is about. And once you hear it, you'll see how much his voice is the same, the same tones, the same everybody who's seen it says that sounds just like him.
Right. Yeah. No, that I think I'll have to check that out. Did you say you sent that to me, or you'll try to send it to me?
Yeah, I sent the link on this video, and it didn't come up in highlighted blue, so I thought maybe it will later when you're done.
Yeah, I'll have to check that after. I'll check the re-upload with the chat going by. That's awesome.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Snapchatted photos, the 2 photos that Libby posted on her Snapchat, I know that there was speculation on one of them that I have on my stream right now that it looks like a guy in the background, and that was kind of debunked because there is a sign, there's like an archway at the entry.
And bushes.
And some bushes, yeah.
Trees.
And so that is always there because someone actually confirmed that with a photo like recently, just showing that like that kind of shadowed artifact in the background is always there. But I think what could have happened is, they took these photos towards kind of the first quarter or the first half of the trek across the bridge, and then I guess maybe this guy entered the bridge shortly after. It was maybe somewhat later. It would be interesting to know when the timestamp is on the video of him to know how much time passed between these Snapchat photos and the video. But
there is some videos out like that, and they're pretty close to the end when Bridgeman is seen. There's there's a little marks on the bridge where it shows where he is exactly, and it looks to me about 10-15 feet maybe.
Oh yeah, it's definitely, they're very close to the like kind of southeast
Where
end of the bridge.
Where did he come from?
I mean, he had to have crossed the whole bridge. I think, and some people, I've had a couple people reach out to me that have been there, and they, I don't remember how long they said it took to cross, but they said you can get across it. I think I measured it. It's about 800 feet all the way across. And obviously they're near the front when they take these first couple photos. But I guess he would have just entered the bridge sometime after they took these 2 photos and then just started to kind of make his way towards them. And then, I guess at that point they were kind of trapped at the end of this bridge with this random guy walking towards them. I can only imagine.
I think there was at least 2.
I'm just leaning on that too. It just, unless he was really controlling the situation with a weapon of some sort, I really just feel like there was someone else and they're just not in any of the video. That's why it's like,
right.
I don't know.
You can only point the camera one way.
Exactly. And that's a great, it's a great point.
She was focusing on what she could for the moment, and then we don't know what happened after that.
Exactly. Because
and that guy on the guy on that bridge, he has if you ever get to watch him walk, he leans to one side like he's had an injury to his back or something. He keeps leaning to one side, and I get it that he's walking on beams, and I know that it's hard, you can't walk straight, but the way he's leaning is the same kind of lean if he was walking around on flat ground, because he keeps favoring one side of his demure, like he's leaning over to his left, so he has a favored leg for stability. Is what I'm trying to say. He favors his strength to one side.
Okay.
And that's why I'm thinking that's Tony. He's probably an older man.
I'm like very much like on this kick right now of it being Kegan and Tony. And imagine this. Imagine Kegan met the girls there at one point and they didn't film him or anything. And that, like you said, the camera only points one way. He could have been there with them at the beginning of all this. And then all of a sudden they have this guy creeping up on them. They could have been like, do you know that guy? And he could have been like, no, I don't know this guy, even though it could have been his dad. And then right when he came up, it could have been the guys down the hill moment. And then boom, they've got him. They've 2 guys against the 2 young girls. I think Kegan could have been with them.
They were expecting to probably see a really cute young
exactly
handsome guy. And once they saw these older men that just were
absolutely not fitting that
too
description.
strange at one place where they were supposed to meet somebody or say hi to somebody, they knew.
Yeah.
They knew something was wrong.
I think it probably happened relatively quick for them of just realizing the situation wasn't what they thought.
Oh, hey, thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, thank you so much for calling. I appreciate it, and yeah, definitely call back in again soon. Hopefully, we have more answers to this case soon.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks, Margaret. Bye.
Bye.
I was just going back and forth. I was like, I don't even know what time it is. That was like 6 minutes. That didn't feel like a long call at all, though. Thanks for calling in. Feel free to keep calling. I've got the phone lines open it's pinned up at the top there. Feel free to call with any input around this case. 305-985-2690. Let's read some of your guys' comments. I think who mentioned, keep in mind that this is premeditated. Who was that? Yeah, Londoner, bear in mind this was premeditated, and these were seasoned child groomers. They would have had a clear plan to control the girls, etc. Exactly. That's a good point. Sasha, I think there was one behind the girls, came up from the woods while BG was coming the other way towards them. I really think that as well, Sasha. I 100% think it happened when they got to the end of the bridge. Kegan may have been waiting for them, and then at that point, you've got BG, bridge guy, coming towards them. They can't go back across the bridge. They've got, likely bridge guy was quiet the whole way because they may have been like, who is this guy, and then all of a sudden he's getting closer, and then they decide to like film, like, and then they may have even called out to him at one point like, hey, how's it going, like a friendly, we'll be the first to talk in this weird awkward situation thing. And then who knows after that. But like, I don't know why I'm dead set on this idea that there were two people, that someone snuck out from underneath here on this road. Because keep in mind also, this is a road here that leads to this property, and it goes underneath the bridge right here. Someone could easily come up from below that road and be there to kind of trap them in that situation. All right, another call.
Call from
TD.
It's TD.
To accept, press 1. To send a voicemail, press 2.
Hey, TD, how's it going?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, no problem. Okay, here's my question. Let me think about how to best say it. Okay, do we know if, so he's thrown his dad under, like, then it could totally be my dad. Okay, if the guy on the bridge and the guy possibly in the woods, if one of them was, like, still in the car and then the other one hurt the girls in the woods, would only one of them would have DNA on the girls? So, in that scenario, it's totally made up in my head. The other one would then not, would be clear of DNA. So
right.
If his dad was in the car and he knows it, then he says, well, maybe it was my dad, but they know the dad won't clear DNA. I mean, I know he says he gave his stuff too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, maybe he thinks he just did a good enough job. But
that's true.
I guess my question is, is there some way how he's kind of accusing his dad? Is there some way for that to be throwing off the evidence? You see what I'm saying? I'm not sure how it would work exactly yet, but do you get that idea?
Yeah. No, definitely. I'm trying to think. I mean, do you think that? Because I mean, there could be other people besides these two involved in some way as well. Like that's where it's like.
No. Maybe it's a whole third person who they know the DNA is going to be
not
if any
either
DNA
of
is
theirs.
recovered completely on the girls,
Yeah.
so they are safely able to go. Yeah, it was my account. Yeah, that's even me on the bridge. But I was, at the time we were communicating with the girls before they came up missing. That's clearly my dad because I have a strong alibi there. Do you know what I mean? Is there some way for the things that they are kind of copying to eliminate them?
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're innocent, not that, but
Yeah.
are they thinking that far ahead?
Mm-hmm.
To say, hey, that's proof that I didn't do it.
Yeah, because they could still be connected in the sense of setting this whole thing up, but they could absolutely know that they don't have DNA attached to the scene because they might not have been the ones to carry out the murder. But like, for instance, you know, Kegan could be the guy saying down the hill, and he maybe didn't touch them at all, and he still got away with it. And that's why he's like throwing people under of like having access to this other account. He may be like, I'm totally clear. Like, there's no DNA there, just like you said. And he could think he's in the clear still, but I think that there could still be a connection there. Absolutely. It makes you wonder how many were involved, if not just one.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's definitely delusional enough to just be saying stuff and acting like it's true, even though it's clearly not. Like, I mean, I think that we find the longer you do this, you know, true crime stuff, the more you realize the huevos rancheros on these people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll just blatantly say stuff that's for sure a lie. Like, it's something that can easily be caught in, like it's a true fact. It's crazy how delusional they are. So, you know, I mean, that aside, but that's also what I wondered, like, are they trying to stack the deck there? And then the other thing I wondered is, you know, one of the girls had never crossed the bridge before because she'd been scared or whatever. And then the cops also say that they only talked to one of the girls on that Anthony Schatz account, right?
Yeah.
So I wonder if the other girl was a surprise, if they only expected one girl that day.
Oh, right. Well, that's a really good point, because I don't know if you've heard the interview with Kayla, who is another person who had communicated with not the Anthony Schatz profile, but with Kegan years ago. She talked about a moment where he was like, I want to meet you. Let's meet at this park. And she had a bad feeling about it, and she brought a friend, and he got really mad that there was another girl there. And he's like, why did you bring someone else there? And he literally, in the interview, and if once again, I don't know if it's true, but he said, I should hang you and make you bleed out for what you did. Like a crazy reaction for just like bringing yes. And that's where
I never heard that interview at all, but that was kind of stuck in my head. Like, was it, I mean, not that this stuff is so mortifying to even say out loud, but was it just like a rapey kind of thing going to happen, a picture type of thing? He's been doing the grooming. He thinks it's going to be
just
consensually.
One person.
In his thick head, consensual, type of scenario. Like, forgive him for being not the guy in the picture or whatever. Yeah. And then with the other girl, and I also haven't ever had this clear. The little girl that he was talking to, is it the one that's the more timid one, or was the girl that was crossing the bridge all the time? Do you see what I'm saying? Was the more boisterous, braver girl the one that was unexpected? I mean, I don't even know if any of that's the case, but those are the other kind of things that I've wondered.
Right. No, those are all good points, and it reminded me to play a little bit of that interview in this stream from that Kayla girl. And once again, I don't know how much weight her story carries, because she wasn't able to confirm it with the messages, because it was from an old Facebook account from like 6 or 8 years ago. I don't know exactly how long ago. It's been a while, but she's since remarried and has a whole nother Facebook. But yeah, if that's true, like this Kegan guy is just like he's like crazy. If he actually said things like that. Why would
she make up details like that? Do you know what I mean? Like that, I think
almost always they're telling the truth. Cool. Exactly. Why would you make that
up?
Yeah.
I mean, she could have made up any kind of story. So, I mean, that's really weird. And then, and it makes plausible sense with this one. I don't know. Like, it's so sad, but like, oh, by the way, I did notice when the other caller was talking about the gate, that you had the video pulled up on the gate. Good job.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Yeah, I just tried to you're talking about zooming in on that moment too, or the actual video. Yeah.
Well, she was talking about it. I was like, hey, that's quick. That's quick.
I was like, let's pull this up real quick. Yeah.
Yeah, you had it. You were on it.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you calling in, and that's some good insight there, though, on if they're trying to kind of play a different game because they know that they're not attached to it. Like, they can be as like upfront about it as possible. That doesn't necessarily mean they're not connected in some way. So.
Right. Yeah. And then I was thinking, like, could we use that to kind of hypothesize or even get to some kind of information some other information that would help in some way? I don't know what way really, because it's barely formed idea, but something along those lines. Are they saying, are they deflections, or are they, using some of the stuff they're saying, calculated in a calculated manner?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thanks so much for calling. We'll talk soon. See ya.
Bye.
All right, bye. Thanks for calling, TD. Yeah, all good points from everyone that's called so far. We're going to take, if there's still someone that wants to call, we're going to take one more call, and then we're going to quickly listen to a couple of those moments from the Kayla interview. Read a few of your guys' comments here. Londoner says, initial thought on Kayla and friend incident is that Kline would have learned from this, met next victim in more isolated place. Isolated, yeah, a little bit more isolated here on the trails, and brought an accomplice anticipating the possibility of two victims. It makes total sense. Makes total sense, Londoner. Yeah. Because if that Kayla girl's story is in fact correct, it sounds like he just wanted to meet her at a park. She had a bad feeling about it, brought a friend, and he literally said, and I saw someone's comment, he said, I should cut your throat and let you bleed out. Like, what kind of response is that for someone bringing a friend? Like, crazy if true. Absolutely nuts. I also saw Paige say that the police said that they got a good amount of DNA at the scene. I do remember that as well. Man. Alicia also mentioned, I'm curious as to what else is on the recorded audio. My mind wonders that very often. How much did they leave out in an effort to obviously keep the case built, in the event that they need to build a case? Well, obviously they're going to have to build a case, but yeah, they only probably let out just a snippet to try to get that voice match from potentially someone in the public. They could have so much more filmed if they did indeed just put the phone in the pocket and continued recording. It's horrific to think what could have been filmed from inside the pocket, thus being able to hear. It's horrific. Any thoughts that they knew their location because you can see your friends' locations on Snap? That's a good point as well. Cindy Stevens makes a great point. Snapchat has a feature, which if any of you are parents out there and you have kids that have Snapchat, you can enable or disable the basically the GPS data in Snapchat to be able to not show your location. It's like a feature in Snapchat so people can see where their friends are and hanging out and like, oh, it's like a fun thing. And I guess that can be good if you're only sharing it with certain friends, where maybe you're all going out with a group of friends and you can share your location, and at the end of the night you can make sure all your friends are where they need to be or meet up at a certain spot. However, if that's all public, then yeah, if you're just friends with someone, you can easily zoom in and see where these people are. So keep that in mind. There's actually a lot of apps that that do that, so you got to keep on the lookout. Sasha, where is Kayla interview? Okay, I'm gonna go to it now, Sasha. Kayla's interview. I'm gonna pull it up. We're going to play it at 1.25 speed. It's a little bit of a shorter interview than the one with, let's see. It's a shorter one than with Bart. Sorry, I just got an email. I'm going to check my email. I think I see, Bart, I just got your email, or Brock, I just got your email. I will read this email while I play this real quick. All right, this is Kayla's interview. I'm gonna turn the phone lines off for now. Thanks to the callers. I'm gonna remove the unpinned, or I'm gonna unpin this message. Okay, Kayla's interview.
Yes, I was.
With Kevin. Well, yeah, I know you were corresponding with Kevin about this Kegan Kline situation.
Yes, I was.
And we just...
It's unbelievable, to be honest with you,
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
How do you know Kegan?
I was 12 years old, and I had gotten a friend request from, it was a girl. and I was talking to her, and it was Kegan the whole entire time. He was, getting just face pictures from me, and then this girl, which was Kegan, was saying, "Oh, well, you should come hang out with me and my boyfriend." And so then I got a message from Tony Kline, and he was talking to me about the girl, and the girl was, she was pretty, but that's just how I started talking to Kegan.
So he clearly like groomed her by posing as a girl, by posing as a female, talking to her, and then saying, "You should hang out with me and my boyfriend." And then Kegan slides into the situation. This is very common.
What kind of things did he say to you in those first messages?
He was perverted, and he talked to me in a weird way that I didn't feel comfortable even really talking to him. And one day, he said, "Well, I'm at Foster Park, me and my girlfriend." So I went to Foster Park because he said he lived in Galveston, Indiana. And he went to different states. So he said he was in Kokomo for a little bit. I had my friend go with me, actually. And he was pissed off. I have not met him face to face. And he sent me a really, really, really shitty message and said, "I should cut your throat for this and watch you bleed out, blah, blah. Why would you bring someone with you?" And snapped on me.
What?
That's horrible. You still have these messages that he sent you?
I got married, and I got a whole new Facebook. It's under my Facebook page when I was 12 and 13 years old.
So he was sending these messages to you, threatening you basically when you were just 12?
Yes. Well, I would say I met him when I was 12. Not met him, but, started talking to him on the internet. And then when I was about 13, 14 years old, that's when he would get really aggressive with his words, and was just, I wish I did still have the messages, because my mind was blown. You've never even met me, and you're telling me all these things. It makes me sick in my stomach even seeing this mugshot on the news, because that is you can tell he looks a lot different. He used to send me pictures of himself all the time. And it's unbelievable. That's all I got to say.
I didn't go through and actually timestamp. I actually just went to the grocery store before the stream, and so I was listening to this through my headphones in the store, and I had to pick my jaw up off the floor, because I'm just thinking, if this girl is telling the truth, which we need to be believing these stories more often than questioning them, because also she talks about it earlier on. She describes behavior from Kegan that is very similar to behavior described by other victims of Kegan, right? Or I guess, Bart, not being a victim of Kegan, but somebody who is connected to Kegan, being his stepbrother, has described him as this specific way, and then she says things that support that. So it's why would we have any reason to not believe her? But if his reaction to her bringing a friend was that, granted, you have to think this is a 12-year-old, so she maybe didn't realize hey, I need to turn this guy into the authorities. He was threatening her at one point because, and I don't think she mentioned this yet, he was saying to her, "I know where you live." So this girl was probably scared to go to the police in the first place, if she even had that thought cross her mind. Crazy. This guy's crazy.
That's so horrifying. And you're 12. You're just a kid. How much older was he than you at that point?
He told me he was 17 years old when I was 13.
Jesus.
You said he was asking for perverted type of things. Are you comfortable discussing any of those things he was talking about?
He would just tell me, how beautiful I am and what things he would like to do to me, and that I should come stay the night at his house, let him take me out of state at age 14, and
Do you remember the name of the fake account he used to contact you initially? The account pretending to be a girl your age?
I really honestly don't.
You said this was happening when you were about 14 years old. This is kind of an ungentlemanly question, but can you tell me how old you are now?
I'm 21. Okay. So I've known him for quite a while.
So I don't know when the Anthony Shots profile was created. If it wasn't created over 7 years ago, this could have just been, and I know they asked him to maybe see, because if she had said, oh, I think it was some Anthony name, then that would have confirmed. But this absolutely could have just been another method of communication that he was using at that time. It could have been through, like, I think he said Facebook, or I think she said Facebook. And so I don't know if he had an Anthony Shots Facebook account that he was using. But yeah, we'll listen to a little bit more of this. As above, so below. I have found the man under the bridge filming the murder. Do you understand? What? Kayla definitely seems credible. Yeah, I mean, just listen to her. Once again, we have to take everything that we talk about on this show with a grain of salt. You never know if someone's calling in to just call in and contribute to potential misinformation. But like I said, it lines up. A lot of what she's saying lines up with other stories about Kegan. Anyways, let's continue on.
Can you tell us, so he wanted you to meet him at the park, and then he got upset with you that you brought a friend. What
yes,
happened?
that was when I was 14.
So what happened with Kegan and you after that?
Well, he blocked me for like 3 hours maybe. Unblocked me and was apologizing to me.
Manipulated.
Saying, baby, I shouldn't have snapped on you like that. That isn't me. And
that isn't me. Oh, telling you that I should cut your throat and let your blood drain out. That's not me. If you guys have access to the emotes, use them. That's all I have to say. There they are. Did I not post? I just tried to do that. The crazy, like, are you kidding me? Oh no, I didn't do that. I didn't do whatever. I just tried to post. This guy's crazy. That's not me, really? Oh, please come back to me. I'm not that guy. What?
Did you guys stay in touch after that?
Yes. I don't know if he did or not, but he told me, he said he kept sending me messages and messages and messages. One day I woke up to probably more than 25 messages from him. And he was saying he knows where I live and all this and that. And he said, I can kidnap you if I really wanted to.
That must have been really terrifying for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I do believe, he could have done something. And whenever I did look at the sketch, because a lot of people were like, oh, well, that guy must have been, wearing a different coat. Kegan, I would say, is around 200 pounds, maybe more.
Has he gained weight in recent years, or is his mugshot picture that we've seen, is that pretty close to how he looked?
It is pretty close.
It's pretty close to how he looked when you met him?
Yes. He hasn't changed a bit.
When did you guys sort of, you mentioned you got a new Facebook and whatnot. When did you guys lose touch or stop contacting each other?
When I got married, and that was in 2019.
How did he react when you got married?
Honestly, I don't know, because I had blocked him on my page, so he couldn't find out my new last name, or that's just what I had to do, was I had to block him on my Facebook.
Was that time when you met him in the park, was that the only time you met him in person?
Yes.
Did he communicate with you a lot via Facebook? You said sometimes he'd wake up and there'd be dozens of messages. Can you talk about what it was like, the messages he sent you?
It was creepy. It was really creepy. Like, he would get mad at me for no reason because I wouldn't respond back quick enough or something. Like, if it was only 10 minutes, he would say, "Oh, well, what are you doing now? Who are you talking to?" And I'm like, I was helping my mom, you know?
When you were in that situation, did you at points feel like I need to stop talking to this guy, or what sort of?
There was many times, but I was scared because of, you know, like I said, he said he knew where I lived and he knew my family, and
that must have been incredibly stressful for you throughout the whole time.
Yes, it was stressful, and you know, it was more, I guess, heartbreaking because of what kind of mentality the guy had and the things that he could say he could do and the things, you know.
Do you know, knowing his voice, right? Do you think he sounds like Bridge Guy, the audio that police released?
She hasn't heard the Bridge Guy audio, which, by the way, I just pulled up the photo of Kegan from a while ago. This is on the subreddit. Obviously, I don't know how tall he is. He doesn't look terribly tall. Probably, and you have to remember, this was over 7 years ago, and she only saw him the one time that she met up in the park where he had the incident where she showed up with a friend. Okay, so he was probably even a little younger than he is in this photo, could have gained weight since, and so he may have been around 200 pounds, but at the same time, she may have only seen him and thought, you know, he was a little bit bigger. He had to have at least been 200 is what she's saying. I wouldn't take too much of what she's saying about his weight too seriously, because he's obviously gained weight since then. You know, we see the photo of him that I also pulled up to compare it, his mugshot, and it's very clear he's gained some weight. Randy, you're still on. Yay, sorry I'm late. Hope everyone is doing well. Thanks for being here, Randy. Yes, we are still going for a little bit. I'm going to play the last little bit of this interview here, and then we're going to wrap things up. But CSI Crowdsourced Illumination says he looks 5'11", 230 in that pic. Hey, you're probably onto something.
You know, I don't think I have seen that video, but I will have to play that again.
Yeah, we'd be very curious to get your thoughts on that.
I think it's playing now.
Okay.
She's playing.
It's so creepy listening to that.
Does it sound like Kegan to you?
Yes. That's creepy.
Yeah, it must be.
It's horrifying.
It's awful to think about what might have happened to you if you'd not taken your friend with you to the park that day.
Yes.
Did he, during this time, ask for like pictures of you?
Yes.
Did you send any?
Yeah, I did.
Did the man in the video you just saw, did that look like Kegan?
I can't really see a close-up picture.
Uh-huh.
So I would have to see a really close-up picture.
Okay, that makes sense.
I'm curious, you know...
Because imagine if she just said, yes, it looks like him. That would be even more suspicious. She is right. Like, I'd have to see a better photo. It doesn't... I mean, I can't tell. So, I don't know. CSI Crowdsourced. I wonder if Kegan sounds like Tony. I don't think so. It sounds like a lot of people. I mean, we've heard Kegan. Bart says that Tony has a higher pitched voice, so I don't think they sound quite the same. Layla says, did she ever report him to the police? Maybe I missed that part. No. So Layla, that's another thing. You would hope, and that's why it's like, hopefully people know, like, if they're ever threatened in any way, to just like report it. That's like the best thing to do. Report it like immediately. But this girl was 12 years old when this happened, and he had threatened her because he said he knew where she lived. he had photos. She just admitted to have sent him photos, which is also horrific. So he had that to hang over her head. And just like Londoner says, groomers will often threaten to reveal images to children's friends and families unless they are given more images. Also, they will hang that over their head in an attempt to keep people from reporting them or talking to their parents. You always hear the stories of people saying, your parents can't hear about this or you're going to get in a lot of trouble, And so I don't think she reported this at that time, but definitely someone to consider in all of this, just because she supposedly had this online relationship with Kegan, even though it was never really beyond the internet, other than the one time they met up. Steve M says, no, they don't sound alike. Regardless, they were able to get around the hunt, drag deer out, etc. 200, 250, but then heavier now for sure. Yeah, I agree, Steve. I think he for sure is probably a bit heavier now. Emily says, so many minors are afraid to tell parents out of shame too. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. All right, let's continue. Alicia says, court filing says Kegan is 6 foot. Okay, so yeah, I would put him at much higher than 250 or 200, probably between 250 and at least 250 plus, because if he's 6 foot from that photo, then he's just already going to be a heavier guy, closer to 200 just at 6 foot. Yeah, also says he's 275. Okay, exactly. So yeah, if you're 6 feet, unless you're just very, very thin, you're probably at least 180 just because of that height. And then he also looks a little heavier. All right.
When he was talking to you, did he ever talk about interests that he had?
In sexual manners, yes.
Would you be comfortable telling us what those were?
I mean, I really don't. He was just saying how he would like to have sex with me and how I bet I looked underneath a robe, and he was weird stuff a creeper would say.
You told us about how he threatened you after you brought your friend to the park. Were there other times where he threatened you?
If I didn't send him pictures, no.
Have you talked to the police about any of this?
No, I have not.
At the time this was happening, when he was preying on you when you were a child, did you tell anyone about what was happening, friends or anything like that?
I did not.
I'm so sorry you had to go through all this, and it must have been awful to go through it and not be able to share it with anybody. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You didn't deserve this. I'm very sorry this happened to you.
Yeah. My mind is shocked.
How has all this affected you over the years?
In different kinds of ways. Yeah, it affected me really emotionally, and now it's got, I don't know what to think. This has affected me more than anything out of everything he's done to me, out of everything he said to me, because these are two little girls. They could have been my little nephew or, my little niece or something. I could only imagine what he would have honestly done to me if I was alone with him for 5 minutes.
And you said he told you that he was texting with other girls too?
Yes.
What would he tell you?
He could have made them up.
Right.
Oh, I bet he was texting with other girls. I don't think he was making that up.
He did make a lot of Facebook accounts just because I would block him on one whenever I was, getting a little bit older. I did block him, and then he'd always find a way to, message me.
What made you decide to bring a friend with you that day? Were you scared?
I had a bad feeling.
When you saw him and he looked different from his pictures, was that a surprise?
Yes. Yes.
Did he yell at you in front of your friend, or was he...
No. It was no.
What was he like when you met him then?
Kind of sweet, but then whenever, you got away from each other. It was all this and that on this, or bringing my friend. Because my friend was like, hey, my dad's texting, we got to go. Because I think she had a weird feeling too.
Have you talked with your friend about this since all this news is broken?
She don't talk to me.
So her friend doesn't talk to her anymore. We're going to kind of end that there. I will end up linking this in the description now if you want to listen to the full interview. Let me go ahead and link that now down below. It's underneath. It's labeled number 2, which is the second video we watched. Some of the comments coming through. Someone said, so yeah, you guys are asking if this has been reported to the police. So this podcast, the podcasters here said that they have submitted a tip based on this interview that they had with her because of the stuff that was said. And I would assume that law enforcement has absolutely talked to her, because also this episode initially aired on December 13th, 2021. So it's a pretty old episode. It is now being pushed out on their YouTube channel because of all of the stuff around the transcript coming out and all of the stuff around Kegan. So yeah, let's see. Sounds like typical teenager stuff. She needs to tell this to the cops. Gary, please report to the police. Olivia, he doesn't look like he could sprint down that bridge. Absolutely not. I don't think many people probably sprinted across that bridge regardless of athletic ability, but Kegan, surely not. Also, I was seeing something about the guys down the hill. Okay, Emily says, guys down the hill, there's a wee glitch in the tape, making it sound like that. Regardless, frightening words. Exactly. So we don't know. Also, I saw someone say that guys could have been said by someone different, and the down the hill could have been said by another person if there were a second, if there's a second person there. All things true. I think the guys was cut in an attempt to make more of a sentence, potentially building out a sentence from one voice, if that's what law enforcement thinks it was coming from, was just one voice. Because just hearing that down the hill, it's less definitive than the guys part. So you hear guys, and then it's like down the hill, and it kind of fades off. And so I think that they used the guys part to build out a longer sentence in an effort to kind of get people to recognize the potential voice, easier. So, yeah, that's just my thought on that. Jen H, wife needs flowers on shelf behind you. Yeah, well, it's funny you mentioned that. We just had to toss the flowers that were sitting right there, because they were getting bad. So we did have some flowers. CSI, Aaron, I've enjoyed this live, thoughtful and informative, welcoming chat. Great place. Thanks for your hard work. Well, thank you for being here. And CSI, I appreciate all your comments. I've seen your comments rolling through, even if I'm not engaging with every single comment. I see a lot of really engaging conversations going on. I appreciate the people calling in. I think we'll probably go ahead and wrap this one up. I'm going to have linked down below afterwards here in a little while. It should be able to see the playlist, but feel free, if you guys are just coming across the channel, to go to my other Delphi videos. I just did one from a few days ago that's pretty interesting, and like I said, it's a little bit shorter than this one. That would be awesome. Also, if you are new to the channel, feel free to hit the subscribe button. We're getting close to 22,500. We have an awesome little community here. There's 400 people here right now. If you're enjoying this content at all, at the very least, hit that like button. Maybe we can hit 300 likes. And then, of course, if you want to join, hit the subscribe button so you can get notified when we go live, and you can see when I upload videos. Under Your Scars, welcome, level 1 supporter. Thank you so much for becoming a supporter. Thanks so much. Under Your Scars. Once again, it should be mentioned to the level 2 people that the level 2 live stream is tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern time, where we will be having a 1-hour live stream that is just with the level 2 people. It's a much more intimate setting where we just get to chat about anything and everything, and it's a good time. But thank you so much, Under Your Scars, for joining and becoming a level 1 member. Oh, CSI. Have you done anything on Summer Wells? I'd love to hear your thoughts and chats. Oh yes, absolutely. We have done some videos on Summer Wells. That is kind of primarily what I cover here, CSI. So absolutely go check out the Summer Wells playlist. Steve M, awesome chat. Glad I found it. Thank you so much. Let's just chit chat with a few people while we're winding down towards the 2-hour mark. Emily Flotilla, keep it up. Thank you so much, Emily, for the super sticker. It reminds me I need to go to the gym tomorrow. Thank you. Appreciate that. Ty, good to see you in here, Ty. Also, Ty, we're going to be having the next live stream will be a Summer Wells live stream. So hopefully I can see a lot of you guys there. I know a lot of people have been following along with that as well. Good to see you, Ty. Good night, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your week. See ya. Nebraska 34. Hey, Aaron. Hope you're doing well. Doing well. Thanks. Appreciate it. Kevin. Pretty sure I'm good right on that. CSI, nice. What a lucky find. Yeah, definitely go check out the Summer Wells stuff. I mean, it really is, it's one of the main things we've been covering. So, and thanks to the mods. Thanks to the mods for being here. Beautiful wife even hopped on. She's a mod, just because she sometimes pops in, and I think she actually communicated with some of you tonight. She's not normally in here, but thanks to the mods, Alicia and Alex, for being here under your scars. Nice. Darla, awesome live chat. Fantastic job. This case is crazy, but needs solving. Yeah, Darla. And I think they're close. I really do. And they talk about that in my last live stream. They talk about how they feel like they're close. So I really do think that they are. Ty, always a good stream with you and your wonderful mods. Oh, thank you. Cosmic, thank you. Thank you for being here. Good 2 hours. You have a good night. Yeah, it's been a solid 2 hours. Thanks so much, guys, for being here. I'm going to hop off. Tomorrow is the members only live stream, the tier 2 member only live stream. Like I said, so we won't be streaming until either Thursday or Friday. And then I'll be out of town here soon. So the next time I'll be live just publicly will be either Thursday or Friday, or I'll be posting a video. Steve M, also a level 2 supporter. Thank you so much, Steve. I got to add your name to the list for the scroll at the end, the shout out. So shout out to you, Steve. Thanks for joining. Steve, if you want to pop by the tier 2 only live stream tomorrow, it's at 6 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to have a good time. We're going to watch some old videos of mine on YouTube. It'll be a good time. We're also going to talk a little bit more about the documentary that I'm making currently, and discussing some of the cool stuff we're doing around that. So thanks for joining the crew, Steve. Sasha, see you tomorrow. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Yeah, that's it, guys. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.